Today's video is brought to you by Uyon HS64 Creative Pen Tablet. This is a 6.3-inch tablet, comes with all the features which you can get with the bigger tablets such as the pen sensitivity, pen resolutions and accuracy. This is a portable tablet, so you can directly just plug into your computer or laptop or even Android phones. With this, you can turn your Android devices into your creative playground. HS64 comes with the same pen as higher premium devices. For cheaper price, you guys can get the same benefits as the higher end devices. Check out Uyon HS64 today. Link is under the description below. Okay guys, first step to create a painting is drawing the sketch. So in Photoshop, I'm going to create a new layer, and in here I'm just going to name as sketch. For this, I'm going to use the paintbrush tool, and just a default brush will do. In fact, for the entire artwork, I'm just using the basic brushes inside Photoshop. Make sure to activate the pen pressure on. For the color, I just choose a darker tone of gray. First, I will try to get the basic shape right. After that, we can have the details add in. If your drawing is in a one layer, you can always cut and paste into a new layer and edit using the transform tool, just like what I did. And if you are coming up with your own idea, the sketch no need to be perfect. You just need a rough sketch, and later on when we were painting, we can correct the issues with the dimensions or the placements. Alright guys, I think the neck and shoulder should be a little bit bigger, so let's adjust it. I just cut and paste the neck and shoulder part into a new layer and use the transform control and adjust the size and also the angle. Alright guys, I think this looks good enough. I just rename this as sketch and create a new layer. In here we are going to draw the base colors. Okay, so I will name as base, and for this also I will stick to the same brush. I will make the brush size bit bigger. So this is a flat brush, there is no smoothness in it. And then let's select the color for the skin tone. So in here we have to select the midtone of that character. So for this character I will choose somewhere around here. Alright, and for the opacity we can make it almost to 80 or 90%, and we can on the pen pressure on again and just paint on top of this layer. Pretty simple. Always try to keep inside the sketch, don't go outside the sketch. Same for the ears also. Alright, now I will select the background layer in here and apply a background color for this artwork. For this I will choose a bluish gray tone, and yeah, this look better. Next, let's start painting the base color for the t-shirt. For this, I will create a new folder and change this folder name as t-shirt. Okay, and inside here, I will create a new layer and let's bring it to the top. Now, I'll select a white color, a light gray color, almost closer to white, somewhere around here. I think bluish tone should be okay. Alright, and then use the same brush and paint on top of this layer. Okay, we are going to do the same steps like earlier. Just try to keep inside the outline and just completely paint the entire area. Right, I think this looks good. Okay, next step is adding in the facial features. Okay, so before we add in the facial features, we have to define the light. This is going to affect the entire artwork throughout the painting. We need to define where the light is going to be. For this artwork, I'm going to place the light in the front left side in here. So the light will come like this. So these areas which I'm drawing in the character is going to have a lot of lights. So in these areas, we will have the highlights. And in these areas in red color is going to be a lot of shadows, because in here we don't have any lights, but we will have some ambient light. Also the face, based on the angle, we will have shadows from the face affecting these shoulder areas and the shadow from the nose and ears. So considering all these things, we are going to add in the details based on lights and shadows. Alright? Okay. Now I will create a new layer on top of this base layer, and I will select this layer with the Alt key, so it will create the mask based on the layer below, and name this one as the depth. Alright. So first I'm going to use the highlight areas and draw the highlight areas. So I will select a lighter tone in here, lighter tone of the skin, and change the blending mode to overlay, and make sure it's not too much, and adjust the opacity. I think a little bit more. Yeah, this look better. All right. Now select a brush, a basic brush with a smoothness, and then let's start drawing in these lines wherever we are going to get highlights from the light. Okay, so first I will draw the base lines of this eye, nose, and the mouth, and also in other facial features. Or we can also change this color to match with our background color and make it lighter. Okay, because the background light will affect these highlight areas. Don't worry too much, just use a lighter tone in here. Try to get the facial features right. I'm just painting the highlights in the face with the detail, and also we will have some highlights in here as well. Now I will change the color to a lighter yellow tone and start painting. You guys can see the yellow color is nicely blending in with the highlighted areas. Let's move on to the darker areas. Let's change the color to a darker tone and start painting the darker areas in the face. In here, we will have the shadow from the face. Same in these areas as well. Let's change back to highlights, change the color to light and apply in highlighted areas. Then we change to reflective areas. For this, we need the very lighter color. This one will do, and change the blending mode to screen, and we can start drawing the reflective areas of the face. Alright guys, now I will use the Alt key and blend these colors together. I want to blend the highlight and shadows smoothly. Some places we have these things not blended properly, so let's make a proper blend using the blending techniques. Alright, now let's add in the details of the facial features using the highlights. So I'm just going to stick to our original sketch and draw these lines in here. So these will later on act as a highlighted areas in the face. Same for the neck area as well. So we will do the same in here, highlighted areas. Alright, so let's start adding in the details. I'm going to create a new layer in here. For this one also, I will make it only affect through the mask below. First, I'm going to draw the eye and the eyebrow. So for this, I'm going to select this wet media brush. It's a default brush, and change the color to a dark gray tone. Alright, so let's start from here, and I will change the blending modes to multiple as well. Alright, so let's start from here. All I'm doing is following the eyebrow based on our highlights and shadows and draw these lines. This is good enough for now. So let's move on to the eye. So for inside the eye, I'm going to choose a lighter tone, a white gray tone, a light gray tone in here. And I'm just going to paint inside the eye. So for this, I'm going to select a solid brush, and let's bring the opacity to 100%. And let's start drawing. Same for the other side. Okay, now I'm going to draw the highlights and shadows for the eye. This is also going to be based on the light placement. So inside we will have darker areas, outside we will have highlighted areas. So based on the eyelid, we will have these shadows and highlighted areas. All right. Same in these areas also. We have the highlights should be in here, and some places we will have darker areas. Alright, so let's draw the peoples. For that, I will create maybe a new layer and change the colors to a darker blue tone somewhere around here. Alright, and just draw a circle like this. In here also, just draw a circle like this. Now I'm going to keep the opacity low, so when I draw the second time on top, we will have these nice darker areas below and lighter areas on top. Try to cover the eyes, so don't worry about the size for now, just try to draw the eye first. Okay, I think this is okay, looking good. All right, now we can select a darker tone in here, and again we can draw on top like this. Okay, don't worry too much about the details, later on we can add in the details. For now we just need a basic eye shape like this. All right, now we can select this layer and delete the portions which we don't need. I'm just using the eraser tool and erasing in here. Alright, so now we can add in the highlights and shadows. Same as earlier, we need to think about the light, and wherever there is light, we need to enter the lighter areas, and wherever there is shadows, we need to paint the darker areas. Alright, pretty simple. Okay, but I think the eyelid need to be a little bit more bigger. People should be a little bit more smaller. So I'm going to correct that mistake, guys. So if you make a mistake like this, you can always correct. So I will show you guys how to do. First, I will cut this layer into two pieces. I will select the lasso tool and cut it out and paste it in a new layer. And then we can go to the transform tool and adjust the size of the peoples. Okay, I think this size is okay, and just place it in here. We can do the same for the other eye as well. Just make it smaller and just place it in here. I think we can edit the size even more smaller, so let's do that. Yes, this looks better. Just correct the placement. Now we can use the eraser tool and erase the unnecessary shadows. Now we need to bring the eyelid bigger. For that, we need to draw another new line in here. So I will draw from the shadow, and then we can slowly, using the blend techniques, using the Alt key, I will get the colors from top and paint over the eye. We need to cover all the white areas. Also, we need to stick to the eyelid shape as well. Now let's add in the details for the eye. Let's add in the reflective areas, shadows and highlights. Same as earlier, just stick to the light placement and draw the highlights and shadows. Now let's add in the reflection and the glowness of the eye. For this, I'm using a smooth brush with 80 to 90% opacity. Alright, so let's add in some details to the face again, to the eye also. Eyelashes and shadows. For the eyelashes also, I'm following the same steps I did as for the eyebrows. Alright, so let's move on to the mouth. I will create a new layer. I will start from the highlight. For this, I will choose a lighter tone and draw the highlighted portions of the mouth. And again, guys, this one also you need to stick to your original light settings. I think this is good enough. Now let's fill in the colors inside. For this, first I will select a purple tone with a smooth brush, and let's bring the opacity to higher and just fill up the mouth first. Don't worry about the color for now, just fill in. As long as it's darker, closer to the lip is fine. Now let's apply the shadows and highlights for the mouth. And then we can add in the details, highlights and shadows. Before we move on to the next step, let's do some touch-ups. Just blend these things nicely, and also let's add in a little bit more details to the character. Select all these and make it as one layer. So this is the layer we have the detail on. Now I'm going to create a new layer, and I'm going to rename this layer as shadows. So this shadow is going to be based on the environment. So in here we will have more detailed shadows for the character. It's the same step. Only thing we are doing is we are doing it in a new layer for the entire character. Alright, so in here we will define the edges based on the light and also based on the facial features. What we're doing is popping up the places we want to show, and also based on the light, I'm just applying the shadows for the character as well. So we will have shadows in here, and we will have a dark shadow in here because you won't have much light because of the face will have its own shadow in the neck area in here. Alright, pretty simple. Same for the neck area as well. And all these areas will have shadows as well. And let's add the shadows for the ears in here. Guys, so before we move on to the next step, let's add in some final touch up. All I'm doing is touching up and adding in shadows and highlights for this character. I want to change the angle of this nose. For this one also, I use the same steps I used for the eyes. Alright, so now I can select all these layers and make as one layer and rename as shadows, because all of these layers only contain shadows. Now I'm going to create a new layer, and this one is going to be highlights. So in here we will have the lights, so we will draw the lighter areas of this character. For this I'm going to select a soft brush with screen blending mode. We can change it to overlay also, or soft light is better, and also bring the opacity to maybe 12 to 20%, but make sure to on the pen sensitivity so that we can use the pen sensitivity to get the colors right. Now I will just place the light layer on top like this to blend all these colors. Now let's add in more details with the lights. This time I'm going to target these reflected areas. So with the highlighted layer, we are going to make these areas pop up so that we can see the face clearly as well as the facial features clearly. Alright. Alright, so now I'm going to do the same for the shadows also. This time I'm going to select the shadow layer and add in a little bit more details to the shadow. I will do this again for the highlights and shadows and make some touch-ups until we get the character a little bit more realistic. Alright. And now I'm going to create a new layer and name it as hair. So in here we are going to draw the hair for this character. A light hair, we are not going to draw a lot of hair, so I'm just going to use a dark paint brush first with an opacity and brush like this in here. Then we gradually add in the darkness towards the back side. Alright. I want to show hair on top of this head as well a little bit. So for that I'm going to take out the mask and cut out the portion using the selection tool. And for this I will select this paint brush, same as the one we choose for the eyelid, and draw the hair like this. Alright. We can also have a different color so that hair will pop up. Alright, so now let's move on to the next step. In here we will have additional lights based on the skin tone and the environment. So before we do that, create a new layer and select all these layers below and make as one group, and then make the top layer as a mask of bottom layer. And again, for this one also, I'm going to stick to the same brush, a smooth brush as for the highlights. And in here, I'm going to select a purple color. So first I will select a dark purple color, and blending mode we can change to overlay. And let's start painting in here like this in the shadow areas. So we will get this nice skin tone which blend with that purple color. Now I'm going to change it to a blue tone, and this time I'm going to target mid-tones. Okay, so this one I'm going to paint on the mid-tone areas. And finally, I will select yellow and red tones, and these I will apply on the highlight areas. Alright. Now, because of the shyness, I will select a lighter tone and apply all the shiny areas based on the light. We are still stick to the same brush design. I never change anything. I'm only changing the blending modes in here to screen. Alright. Now we can select all these new layers and merge them into one group. And this one I'm going to name as the face. And then let's start drawing the t-shirt. I'm not going to focus a lot in the t-shirt, guys, so it's going to be the same. So I'm just going to select a lighter tone for the shadow areas and paint the shadows in here. This is a white t-shirt, so I'm just going to do the same step I did for the face. So I will make this part faster. All right. Alright guys, t-shirt also ready. Now we can save this as a one version, and then I'm going to do the final touch up and light adjustment for these artworks. Then we are done. And before that, what I will do is I will select all of these and convert it to a smart object, because we can always go back there and edit this if we want to make any changes. Once we have done with the smart object, first, I'm going to change the background color. I will get the color in here and get the darker tone to the other side. So based on our light placement, we should have lighter areas in the left side and darker areas in the right side. Okay, something like that. And then I will create a new layer on top of this smart object layer. In here, we are going to draw the light. Okay, for that I'm just going to select a yellow color and bring the opacity to 20% and just draw something like this in here. Okay, just only cover these areas, and then we can go to blur and apply a Gaussian blur. Okay, until you don't see any lines, and then we can change this blending modes to overlay and adjust the opacity. Alright, next I'm going to make a copy from this smart object, and for this, in the below one, I'm going to apply a Gaussian blur. Okay, so here is fine, and apply. Now for the final touch up, I will create a new layer underneath the light layer. This is very important. Underneath the light layer, and this one again I'm going to make it as a mask layer, and for this we are going to paint using the same colors as earlier, starting from the purple, and draw on top of the darker areas. All right, the blending mode you can keep it as darken. Okay, now we are going to add the shadows. For that, control select the smart object and create a new layer below the smart object, and for this apply the same purple color and bring it over here, and we can make it a little bit bigger. Now again go to Gaussian blur and apply a nice Gaussian blur. Okay, now we can change the blending mode to multiple, and also if you want you can adjust the opacity as well. All right. this look okay, but I want to blend the midtones and the shadows a little bit more smoothly. For that, I will create a new layer. This time I will select the blue color. And again, I will do the same as earlier. Use the paintbrush and paint on top of the midtones where you see there is a lot of variations. And finally, let's do some touch-ups. Again, I'm going to draw the facial features and make them clear. For example, eyebrow and eyelashes, and also I will use the shadow layer and make the shadows a little bit more prominent. Same for the highlights as well. Finally, we can close them all and make it as a group. For the character one group and for the background one group. And then I will apply some adjustment layers on top, curves, and edit the color and contrast for the highlights and shadows. And I will add in a vibrant adjustment layer and make some changes to these colors. Finally, I will apply one more adjustment layer on top of background layer. This time I will apply the levels, and in here I will bring down the darker areas a little bit more darker. Alright? Okay. Alright guys, I think this is good enough. So that's all about it for today. Thank you for watching. See you guys in the next tutorial.